Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Nigeria Now, where we keep you updated with all that is happening on the program currently. Quite a number of stories are actually out there, but we shall pick few to actually discuss it here and then possibly provide solutions and also see how that can help in nation building and developing the country as well. I am Sarah Elisha Dasham. Remember, you can be part of the program by joining us via Facebook and YouTube. Drop your comment, your views on any of the matters that is quite of interest to you. I have Rachel Tanzi with me. Good afternoon, Rachel.
Afternoon, sir.
All right, quite a number of things we would love to talk about, and I
Yes.
think it's important we start with the student loan bill
Yes.
act for 2024. It has we actually talk a little about it, talking about that it was suspended. It was supposed to kick off last week Thursday, but it was suspended for one thing or the other, shifted to a further date where after all that is needed to be done, and then we got to realize that it has passed the first and second reading from the Senate, and then finally we've seen that the Senate have actually kind of passed the student loan scheme. They actually made quite a number of adjustments on it. Well, we recall that this scheme, or this act rather, when we can take it back to last year, 2023, where the president spoke about the act, and then they need that, and every Nigerian have the right to be educated, every Nigerian have the right to be in school, and that was what brought about, or the initiative behind this act. And then we saw some of the more like the terms and conditions apply for you to be able to access the student loan scheme. Initially, you're supposed to have a guarantor, and then they're supposed to even check the history, whether your guardian or your parent have a loan previously, and then also given the timeline that you are supposed to pay 2 years after your service, or if you get a job and all of that. And then here we're seeing the Senate how to check it. We already know that it's loan free, so you can interest free rather, so there's no any interest applied to you. You're just supposed to start paying after 2 years. And then we're seeing that if you're unable to pay it, either maybe as a result of debt or you didn't get a job, you are supposed to write to actually let the body that will be set to be involved or to actually be in charge of this act to know that you didn't get the job and all of that. And quite a number of little adjustment was being done about that. There's no need, even if your parents have a loan, I mean, the history doesn't matter right now. This way, the little touches, and we know that even skill development was involved. I mean, you and I spoke about the fact that those in diaspora were asking for this, and we said this is just starting, so let us see how it will be here for Nigerians schooling here before we can talk about those who are actually. And I remember you raising a very valid point where we should have an office that, regardless of the regime, regardless of who is in power, this should be something that, if we are hoping that it would run for a very long time, then we should have an office, a physical office that can actually have access to people's profile, biodata will be there and all of that. But then we're seeing that finally it has passed the reading, so hopefully we are waiting to see the date that this will start issuing out this loan, because the number of Nigerians are actually hoping for when the office and everything will be finalized, and so that they can actually access this loan to start using.
Everything about this student loan act makes sense a lot. Everything is on point. I like that it's non-interest, because at the beginning we had our lawmakers trying to say 3%. They weren't on the boat concerning let it not be of any interest, and it's interest free, and that means that payment should be taken seriously. I believe that is one thing for people to have access to it, but for its continuity, remittances have to be taken seriously. And I like the fact that it's, of course, 2 years after service, and then there has to be proof that you are employed, and if you're unemployed, you sign an affidavit, and then showing any false, that is the point where you can be in trouble. That if it's false, if it's a false proof of not being employed and you are employed, you can stand being prosecuted, and then up to 3 years in jail. So it means this loan is truly and really out there to help the common man in Nigeria to be able to go to school, tertiary institution, precisely. And then The only thing that I have a little concern is taking a guarantor. I know when we talk about guarantors, what our concern was the criteria for the kind of guarantor. Must be this, must be that. I was hoping that there would still be a guarantor, but let the criteria that the guarantor have to meet not be as high as it was. My reason being is to make sure that there is no fraud in regarding to students applying for this loan. There shouldn't be someone applying double, twice, because you know what, there are people who will do that. But on a deeper look into it, because until you have a signed guarantor, they approve this fund, and of course, if you come and meet me as a guarantor twice, I cannot. You've already gotten for 100 level, we move. Come back 200 level, I will sign. Come back 300 level, 400 level, I will sign. There's going to be a lot of dubious method. People will try to access this loan more than twice for a school session. I know there will be that. But on a second thought, when you look at it, there are so many processes that the people in charge, that's why I will keep emphasizing there is need for a student loan office. It needs people that this is their job, not just sign and go, that will go through every level. And verification is important, and it has to be facial verification. Now, I believe that if we're in a digital age, for example, certain things, I believe that this is something that people don't have to line up on a queue to access these loans. Now, let's not forget that a lot of people will still be skeptical about collecting these loans. It's not anything that has loan attached to it. If it's grants, we might see a higher number. Yeah. But if it's loan, despite as is interest free, and you know that you're in 100 level 4 years later after service, barely you still have money to pay back, people will be skeptical. So now, except if there will be offices, I said it has to flow like that. The office that will be permanent, and we go on that 50 years from now, there will be a debt office, student loan office for students in Nigeria. Now, there has to be facial recognition, and that's why I said verification. So either if people, for every loan, you have to go and do the verification process physically before that loan is approved, or if there's going to be an application, there must be facial verification if it's an app. That is the only way we will not see duplicate application and people getting this loan. And secondly, this loan is not going to personal accounts.
Just go straight into the school account and not of that.
School account. By no means should anybody have access to this fund whatsoever. These are the templates I am looking forward to. And as much as it's been passed as a bill, an act is now a law, and all of that, I want to see a concrete establishment for students loan office, because it's not just about giving it. It's not just about giving it. 5 years later, let's be in a position, for example, where the federal government have stopped pumping money into it. Why? Because remittances have started coming back. Then you will now start having an office that even if the federal government will be sending some, not as much, because because it has now reached the level of sustainability. Not just money going, and nothing is coming back. There's no interest rate. So it's important to get remittances back, because there's no interest rate for you to fall back and say, okay, interest rate have accumulated, we have been getting interest rate. And no, there won't be such. It's the main money. And so I'm just looking forward to a very concrete template when it comes to this student loan. It's not just about the act or the bill. It's a good thing. It's now there. It's not something optional for the government. Administration come and go.
The office is still there.
It's still there, exactly. So that is what I'm looking for. When we see a solid structure, we can be able to say that this is a permanent thing and it's not going anywhere.
I'm really happy, and I hope that the right authority actually listening to this, because it's very important. I mean, this is one of the things I'm hoping that we'll hear canvassing, pushing for the Ministry of Student Loan Affairs or something of that nature. Just have a ministry of that rather than other ministries that are not really living up to their standard or living up to what is expected. And then you rightly mentioned about we making sure that remittance are coming in, auditing need to be done always, and then the fact that the money should go straight to the school account, nobody should have access to it, and then you just say how much you will be needing for a period. So if you need this loan for your next 4 years or 5 years, the government is aware that this person needs it for this period of years, and then the money is being channeled straight into the school account, so they know that that is it. And once you get the job, they'll be able to keep track record, and that is why it's very important to have the by data of everybody. I think this is where all the NIN registration we've been doing will be needed, because everything about every Nigeria, as far as you've done that, everything about it is being captured, so it's very difficult for you, except you are, even if you're outside the country, it should be easy for Nigeria, for the Nigerian government to be able to trace wherever you are and then get their money back. So I'm happy there's also a jail term, so for those who are planning to be defaulters, I hope that they are aware of that. Now, early in the morning, we started a conversation concerning the issue of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Labour Party, where we saw yesterday, even though we just said it briefly at the beginning of the show, the fact that we saw yesterday NLC stormed the office of the Labour Party, and then they closed the office, asking that the chairman that's talking about that brain needs to step down and resign as the chairman. We will recall that there were allegations concerning some things about him, some fraud, and then also being in possession of arms, and then so many other things were surrounding. And then remember where Peter Obi said that for the meantime investigation should be done, and then a number of people said he should be on suspension, he can't be the chairman, and then having all of these things surrounding him, he's stained as it is present. So he needs to step aside, let all that is needed to be done, should be done, and then if he's free of any charge, then he can step back as the chairman. There should be somebody, maybe a caretaker committee or something that will be said. But then we saw the rash step that the NLC took yesterday by interfering. And in as much as we know that the NLC and the Labour Party are actually one and together, so it's more like the NLC is actually the sponsor, however they want to run it. But then we know there is a line, there is the division whereby this is strictly political. So they should deal with whatever political thing they are doing, and then you have better things in your own hand. I mean, Nigerians are expected to be canvassing for the welfare of Nigerians. Nigerians are expected to talk about the welfare of what is happening. We're talking about wage that is supposed to start by April. Nothing is coming from you. Presently, we are having most of our federal universities shut down. Why? Because SANU, NASU, NAT, and the rest are actually on strike. So definitely students cannot even access the school, neither can ask to say they want to go and teach. So there's so many things Nigerians are expected to hear, even the talk of palliative that has not gotten to everybody as it is presently. And here we're seeing them getting it, and then we are also seeing even the Labour Party saying that, you know what, in fact, even the chairman of the NLC should also be on his own, because as it is present, we just tend not to understand. And a number of Nigerians have been calling for a redirection coming from the chairman. I mean, a number of people feel he has not lived up to the expectations of that body. So quite a number of, concern, concerning NLC barging and all actually poke-nosing into the affairs of Labour Party as it is presently.
I mean, so like this was the concern we started raising in the morning, clearly concerning this. Now, great, NLC fathered Labour Party, but NLC, you have grown to the level, right, where you are the voice of every Nigerian. What that means is that under the NLC, there are different party people.
Of course.
There are different party people there. And while Labour Party is a political party, that not everybody is under that umbrella. The concern for me, as I clearly stated, whatever the relationship is, there should be a separation. You are the president of the NLC. He has a president, that is Joe, for example. If NLC, you're not even the first part of, we've had other NLC presidents and all of that. I believe that for the structure to last, there are boards that are above the representatives of these groups, be it the Labour Congress or the party. They should be the one either calling you to book or calling Abure to answer, to order, to anything, not you. Because now you are in the position to not have a party. Because let's even look at how 2023 general election played off. We see how when Atiku steps out, for example, and says something, despite it being the real situation of Nigeria, it's being tagged as what? Losing hangover. It's being tagged as the opposition party trying to just, bring down the current,
the image of the present party and all of that.
Now, you, Mr. Joe Ajaero, do you want to get to the point where when you talk, it sounds like it's Labour Party talking, not the Labour Congress of the country? These are the things you need to put in place. We are struggling every day talking about the government is not listening to NLC. So it means by all means you need to separate yourself from politics. You need to separate yourself regardless of what connection you have with Labour Party. You need to separate yourself from politics, because your organization is what brings the government to book, and you are for everybody. You are for every Nigerian, and we know that every Nigerian can be in NNPP, can be in PDP, can be APC, can be ADC, can be ABGA, can be whatever, and they are all under the NLC. So it means you can't be associated with politics in the forefront like that, regardless of what is your foundation, or regardless of if you own the other party. No, these are two separate entities, regardless of how the other one came about. One is clearly political, one is all clearly civilian. So that's my fear and concern, because tomorrow when you come back and you're meddling with politics, you will now begin to sound like you're talking on behalf of a party.
Of course,
and we don't want to get to that point. Exactly. So if you say that the NLC is the Labour Party, for example, you made a statement, is owned by the NLC, that's also a big mistake. You can't make a statement like that.
Very true.
It's
very
not.
True.
Are you political or not? Let's know your stance, so that we will know whether what we've been saying about you playing politics with the lives and decisions of Nigerians is true or not. You need to separate yourself. For me, this is common sense. We don't want you saying something tomorrow and then the presidency will be defending it and calling it a political statement. We don't want that, because it's important. The NLC have done much in the growth of the civil, in the best interest of civil servants in the country, and we are looking forward to better days like that. We are in talks for so many things that will come to happen. I'm saying we are not part of the NLC. I mean, the NLC is in talk for so much to happen. You have to stand your ground regardless of what is happening. Let the people at that side handle it, and stay in your own place, so that you'll be very effective.
It's just like stay in your lane while I stay in my lane. And I think they're beginning to change tracks rather than remaining. And I really love the angle where you took this whole thing, because we do not want this union tomorrow talking and then the government will tend to target like a political talk, not talking about the looking at the welfare of Nigerians entirely. And I hope that NLC, in case you just made mention of common sense, which common sense is not common at all, Rachel. But we just hope that with this they will actually call themselves back to order and realize that we are talking on behalf of Nigerians. They're not talking on behalf of a political party. You need to know that you house every other person under you. So we do not want people of the Labour Party to suffer as a result of a decision taken by a body. So let the Labour Party settle whatever it is. If you have a piece of advice, you can just chip it to them and let them fix their problem, and then you face what is more, because you have gone a long way to tarnish your image in such a manner like this. Now, I'd like to round it up. We've seen that reps have approved an increase of salary for our Chief Justice. I think this is something that it didn't just start today. We saw it from last year or even before last year, where there was a need to increase the welfare, the allowances, gratuity, and salaries of our lawyers. Let me just put it our lawyers, because they're in different categories.
Yes.
The increment was from the Chief Justice of the Nigeria down to the Supreme Court, down to, and then it keeps going in that manner. And the reason this came up was basically to just do away with the issue of corruption. Now we know that we could take it back to 2023 election. We know how Nigerians lose their trust totally in the judicial system. It just seems as if a little stepping and then they will not even rule. And then back was then where you could actually say that the fate of the common man is in the hands of the law. But then we saw that the reverse was the case, because Nigerians felt disappointed. They felt that the judicial system has failed them, and therefore there was a need for a revival, or even a way. But we're saying that one step that the reps have taken is approval of the salary. So we'll be seeing that our Chief Justice, per month now will be getting over 6 million naira. So I'm hoping that this money will be able to ginger them, Rachel, to give judgment based on what it is and not based on what they feel it should be, where they will be able to separate their emotions from what it is. I mean, for you to be a Chief Justice of Nigeria, that is to say that you've actually spent quite a number of years. You know what it entails. You know the in and out of it, the pros and cons and all of that. And I just feel this increment is just a way of encouraging them and a way to make them do their job better. But I'm hoping that this money will go a long way. I mean, I took my time to look at the breakdown, and there's some of the houses. And I'm like, this is quite sweet and very beautiful. But then we hope that it will show in their work, because this is what Nigerians are looking forward to, that when any case you get, even from the High Court, to the Apex Court and all of that, we'll be able to see that judgment is being given fair, because we know that they said the law is blind, and I hope it will be blind with this money, that they'll be able to do the right thing, because the president felt there was a need for the government to increase their salaries and everything that is supposed to go to them. So we'll no longer be seeing our judges getting from one bike to another. We would see them living comfortable and then doing all they need to do, and I'm happy for that.
Sele, like, I am very, very happy, and I'm having this big grin on my face, is because it's not like I want to antagonize the Nigerian government, but I want to come from a different angle and a perspective. Now, this is good. I believe that every Nigerian should be comfortable at your work space, most especially, right, when it comes to the people that deal directly with the life and property of people. Now, I want to say that if you're a greedy person, even if you are being paid 6 million, if you want to be a partial judge, or impartial, I don't know which one is the right word for someone who is not fair, you will still be. Because if you look at the review, it means those people were still paid in millions, plus other bonuses, allowances that still come. They are still way above an average Nigerian, knowing fully well that our minimum wage is still 30,000 naira. And we still have people at the top with this. So do they have reason to be biased? I don't think so. Even without this review, they are still not paid like common people. Is there need for the review? Yes, but they are still not paid like common people before now. Do I feel like this administration just want to pamper the legislature, like almost thank you for giving us 2023, but it feels like that. That's just joke apart. It is very important. But I can't help but wonder, this is where my concern is, and I'm not trying to rubbish what effort this administration is doing. My concern is, why is this not seen for the health sector? It shows we have money to review this kind of pay. Now, this is why I am bringing it this way. The reason, right, why we are feeling more of our doctors leaving, despite that they are an insignificant percentage compared to the total amount of the population of this country. The reason why Japan in the medical sector is felt, Sele, is because we have millions and millions of people depending on the health sector than on the judiciary. We have people trooping in hundreds of thousands to the hospital, down to the Court of Appeal, down to the Supreme Court, down to any court. And I am hoping, this is just my hope, that the renewed Hope administration knows where to sink in money properly. The judiciary is important and is there. But if we're going to do a statistics of just 100 people, it might just be 2 that needed to go to the court for anything very important, other than affidavit or trying to pass any case or law, anything that would really be tarnishing to the person's existence, like life-threatening. We might even not get anybody. But among these 100, we will get up to 50 people that visited the hospital within just a week for one health challenge, one health scare, one health problem. And I am taking it this direction, as exciting as it might be. So just as I said, I'm not trying to say the Tinubu's administration, no. I'm just calling them now at an early stage that I hope we will see a well prioritization of where money should be sunk into in this administration. And that is just my hope, that as we are starting with the judiciary, with our lawmakers, and with our lawyers and the Chief Justice and all of that, we will move down quickly to the health sector. I'm truly hoping for that. I'm hoping for that.
Richard, I love the concern you raised, because you could clearly remember last year there was an attempt, or it was a charade, however, I don't know. But there was an attempt to increase the salary of our lawmakers, the president, and many other people. And Nigerians came out heavy. And they say, if this is going to be it, there are other people who needed this increment.
Exactly.
And then eventually we started saying, no, it was this one.
We remember.
And Nigerians say, well, you might just say no, but something is being done, maybe backdoor. Nigerians are not aware. And then here we are having our lawyers. And you rightly mentioned, I mean, this is not to rubbish the effort. But how about we see the government looking at reviewing the salaries of every other person? The lawyers need it, of course, because we've seen where lawyers are being treated like nothing. We've seen where they retire without having anything to their name. So it will be a thing of a shame. It's just like saying our soldiers, after serving their country, sometimes you go to some of their houses and you just can't help but wonder, was this a measure? Was this one time a colonel? Why? Because they're not well taken care of and all of that, or the pension that's coming is nothing to write home about. So it's more like saying, if we do not have an increment. But you rightly mentioned another sector. How about our lawyers? Richard, how about our teachers? Here we're having someone strike.
Yes,
because they are not being paid about 4 months salary arrears. So there are a number of, if you just want to say that one, you realize that there are so many people that need an increment of salary eventually. And just like you say, we just hope that this renewed hope will be able to renew the hope of every Nigerian by actually increasing the salaries of everyone. But I'm happy they have done. Starting from here, we hope to hear other people also receiving the same treatment as well. Well, Richard, thank you for doing this with me. And also thank you to our viewers, thank you to our supporters, and also thank you to the crew. Until we come tomorrow, please do have a great day ahead.